everybody. Welcome to Talking Heartland. This is the show where we are recapping the show Heartland, and we are on season 5, episodes 7, 8, and 9. And it's been really fun looking back at the show Heartland. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Micah is here.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on and talking about Heartland.
Yeah, it's no problem. It's one of my favorite shows out there, so it's a lot of fun.
And you were doing recaps of the current season on your channel, is that correct?
Yeah. The season 14 has ended to this point. There's not been any news about a season 15, but I'm sure even thinking about that is overwhelming for you.
I know. It really is. We're ever going to get there, but we'll do our best. And we have just me and Micah today. Michelle is out for the week, but hopefully she will be back next week. And so she lost her dog, which is very sad. But we have made a contribution to the Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, right where she's from in Scotland, and we'll put all the information in the description. So if you can contribute, I think it'd be a great thing to do in honor of Michelle. We love her so much, and so we're thinking about her during this tough time. And well, we're excited to talk about these episodes.
Yeah.
So the first episode that we're talking about is Over the Rise. This is season 5, episode 7. And the summary for this episode is: when Shane arrives to stay for the summer, Tim tries to impress all 3 of his kids with a really cool Western day trip. Meanwhile, a rodeo friend of Caleb's has a unique and somewhat crazy request for Ty to supercharge his ride, and Mallory is devastated when she learns that Lou may not trust her with baby Katie as much as Mallory thought she did. So overall, what did you think about this episode?
I remember when I watched this a while ago. I remember this one was fun because the movie set kind of reminded me of When Calls the Heart vibe. Not sure if you noticed that.
Yeah.
And I thought like the whole bathtub for rodeo clown thing was funny. And it feels like this episode brought like a lot of unique ideas into the mix, and it wasn't all about horses, which I think was kind of refreshing, a little bit of time like away from the ranch. But I think overall it was a good episode.
Yeah. So one thing that I didn't really understand is that has he only been on the rodeo with horses to this point? He hasn't been on the bulls?
Yeah, I think he has never been on a bully set at the dinner table, so I think he's just been on broncs.
So just horses.
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't realize that had been his career up until the point. But yeah, that was an interesting dynamic. You have this rodeo clown that has a put an engine on a bathtub. What did you think of this guy?
He was kind of creepy, I thought, but
Yeah.
funny. I mean, his idea just, I don't know what was going through his mind when he came up with that, but by the end, I guess it kind of worked out.
Yeah. Would you want to ride on a motorized bathtub?
I don't know. It feels like there's so many risks with it. I don't know if I would trust that.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. And so Tim is really excited to have Shane coming to visit, and he gets him a goat so that he can practice roping. He's having him stay with him at his house, and so Shane's kind of bummed. He wants to be at Heartland, and he feels like Tim is treating him like a child.
You know, it's an interesting dynamic between Tim and Shane, because like it's building. Like last season they were introduced, and like he hasn't been much in this season, so I think it just takes time. Eventually we do get there because Shane's still in the show for a while, but I think the goat was funny. I think Tim was trying, but I you know it's still like a big. He says like when he was 7 he got like the goat, but I think he was trying.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's understandable because they had bonded over him teaching Shane how to rope, and so it's a pretty understandable assumption that that would be something he would like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and uh, and now they have the goat on Heartland. I guess they could get some goat milk maybe from it,
Yeah.
but then you have you have Amy, Lou, and Shane. They go on a ride up to the movie set, like you said, and this is important for Tim because he has all three of his kids on the ride, and it's a big deal for particularly for Lou because she's actually leaving the baby.
Yeah.
and and there was some beautiful photography during this whole scene where you see them riding and
Mhm.
and then getting up to the movie set.
Yeah.
And
I thought it was really well done, like the movie set and like going up. I thought they chose great like scenery for the trip.
yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, and they're all kind of skeptical because they're taking kind of a roundabout way of going to the movie set as opposed to the road,
Mhm.
but this is what Tim thinks is best. And there's even a point where Tim locks Shane in the cell and at the set, and they're luckily they're able to find a key, but they get there too late because it took so long, so they're gonna have to stay there in the night.
Yeah,
Mhm.
what was funny was is that Shane had already like found keys and he told Tim to stop it. Tim ended up injuring himself anyway. That was funny.
Yeah, yeah, and I I appreciated that Tim was trying so hard in this episode because he doesn't always try so hard.
Yeah, he was definitely he wants to build a relationship with his son, and it's just funny the ways that he does it.
Hmm. And everything just goes wrong, and I think we can all appreciate that when we're trying to do something with the family, we're trying to plan something, and it just seems like nothing can go right. So then we have this whole plot of Lou not trusting Mallory, having a hard time leaving baby Katie. uh, what did you think about that? Could you relate to both Lou and Mallory, or were you more on team Mallory in this whole thing?
Well, it was funny because I haven't really like babysat much. It just not it's not really my
Mhm.
thing, or at least I just haven't really tried it. But like I understand like Lou, like it's I'm not even sure how old Katie's supposed to be, but it's funny how like Lou is so protective of her, but it's also understandable that like Lou didn't necessarily want to go on this like movie tour anyway,
Mhm.
and she wanted to like stay home with Katie. But Mallory has like kind of been there for like a while. Like I'm not sure she's like 15 or 16 by now, so I think she is trustworthy. And Mallory just thinks that she's trustworthy, and the whole nanny cam thing got her thinking that Lou doesn't trust her, and she probably thought that she deserved better than that.
Yeah, because she finds a camera in a toy uh, that Lou had set out, and so she feels like, "How could you spy on me?" She says, "I thought we were family," and I thought that was a good moment for Mallory and her character. She's one of my favorite characters, Mallory on the show, and but I also can understand Lou because it's her first child and she's insecure about it in a lot of ways, as most moms I think are, and it's hard uh, to give up that control of your baby and to leave, even if it is somebody you trust. I mean, I think sometimes people trust even with their own parents, their own, I mean, just anybody, even their spouse. Sometimes there's women that have a hard time. Which is crazy, but it's true. And I think that that Katie is like pretty little still at this point, like 3 months, 6 months, something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking around there.
But yeah, I mean, Mallory, I think it's interesting because she is a part of the family, but then she always knows kind of in the back of her mind that she's not a member of the family. And so there's this weird dichotomy for her to deal with. And the fact her parents kind of leave her all the time, it's got to be hard.
And like, I surprisingly got like a little bit emotional with her speech to the camera.
Yeah,
Like,
me too.
for like something that's not like technically like doesn't mean anything. It meant something to her saying that. So I thought that was a good moment for her.
It was good. Yeah, I agree. And you have Lou trying desperately to get the cell service in the town because she just can't. She's just very, very, it's hard for her to let go. We also have this guy, Austin, who is driving Soraya crazy. He's not a good worker. And what do you think about Austin? Do you think he's a villain?
Well, based on what happens next episode, it's
Yeah.
kind of like starts to open that up his character up a little bit more. But this episode, like, I kind of like felt bad. Well, no, I don't think Soraya was overreacting at all. So I think that she reacted in the perfect way because like when he like brought like the toilet up like in the middle of business, that was funny. Um,
Right.
but like, I think that I'm not even, but I always think he would know better because he's probably
Yeah.
like 15 or something.
Yeah. And so then Ty is working on this tub. And I did think that this rodeo clown guy was kind of annoying. He irritated me a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just too much. It's probably accurate because I would I don't know. Someone like this is probably a big personality. Let's put it this way. Someone who's going to be a rodeo clown.
hmm
But he takes the tub vehicle out and it crashes. So the guy's super mad at him, but then they figure out to have a toilet on the rig, and that he gets real excited about that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, whatever works, I guess.
Yes, that's right. And yeah, and so then once somebody finds them that owns the movie set, and they are able to get away and get back, and then you see that Tim gets Shane a steer.
Yeah, I thought that scene with them at the end of the bonding, I thought
Hmm.
that was really good and definitely like sets like a good like arc for them up in the future.
Yeah. So what would you give this one 1 to 10 on your ranking?
Um, I'd probably give this one a 7.5. I thought it was overall a good episode. The whole bathtub storyline was kind of weird, but
Mm.
overall a good episode.
Yeah, I think that's a fair grade. We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies Podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies Podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
All right, then our next episode is Nothing for Granted. And this episode is when Ty visits Mrs. Bell to thank her for paying his school fees. He and Amy are surprised to learn she's moved out of her home and away from Sugarfoot. Meanwhile, Shane competes with Janice for Tim's attention and ends up finding another cowboy to look up to. Mallory starts to fall for Austin, but can't help wondering if he has an ulterior motive for getting close to her. And Soraya takes some life advice from an unlikely source, Caleb. So overall, what do you think of this episode?
I thought this was a pretty good episode. I thought we got some development in all the characters. I thought it focusing on Mrs. Bell was good. So yeah, I thought it was a good episode.
Yeah, and one thing the summary didn't really talk about is what's going on with Lou in this episode. And that's where the episode starts out with them talking about their house, and Lou gets a job offer from one of her old bosses is coming to town, and they are going to be having a close enough office that she can work. And at first she says absolutely not, and then she starts to consider it. And then she finds out that Peter actually interviewed for the job that she ended up getting a few weeks before. What did you think about this plotline?
I thought it was nice that we finally got to this point because, like, we don't know much about Lou's past, like in New York. We know that like she had like some girls that she was close to, but we just don't know much about that. So I thought it was good that she got like this opportunity. I don't understand, like it feels like it was so obvious that like Peter would have some involvement in it because it feels like he's always hiding things from her. But I thought overall it was good to see her like get a job offer and like start to like do something. I mean, not saying that like she's not doing anything with her life, but start to like, make her own life choice.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it shows that their marriage is doing a little bit better in a way, even though they didn't want to tell each other about this, but that the resolution at the end is really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then we have the animosity between Shane and Janice, and that difficulty. Shane goes fly fishing with Jack, and he's being kind of a brat to Tim because he doesn't like Tim and Janice kissing. What do we think about this whole dynamic going on?
Well, I feel like Janice is always like ruining things.
Mm.
Like I think at the beginning she might have been like trying to like ask like them at like Tim and Shane like out for dinner. And I don't think Shane's attitude was needed there, but I also do realize that like he wants to spend time with Tim. Like that's not like it's not like he doesn't want to spend any time with him, but Janice like is like around a lot and he gets frustrated with that. So like Jack's like an easier source to turn to, I guess. But
Yeah.
I wasn't this storyline was just kind of weird for me because like I just don't feel like there should be like any competition, and I don't understand why Janice reacted the way that she did with the whole Shane on Team Cisco thing, but it was okay.
Yeah, I think that Janice is a pretty difficult character. I mean, she doesn't really get along with Amy or Lou very much. She's feeling, I don't know, her attitude towards Shane isn't the best. She's a little bit of a hard character to like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think that her and Tim have very good chemistry either, so you're not really rooting for that. It's not the best.
No.
Yeah. So then you have the whole situation with Mrs. Bell. So this is interesting because they have this pretty nice looking retirement center, but it's it, it seems like she's there against her will, which is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And they're pretty upset when they find her there, and they actually then bring Sugarfoot to her, and it causes problems with the retirement home.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
Well, I did feel bad for Miss Bell because, like, you know, I feel like she deserves more than to be in this retirement home and made sure it's like a good like center from what it seems like. But I thought that her like them getting her out was a good thing. But I thought it was really funny when like Sugarfoot like went to like the carrot cake immediately.
Yeah, this was an interesting place because on one hand it seemed like it was very nice, but then on the other hand it seemed like we were supposed to hate it.
Yeah, I feel like they just set like the story up that way so we could get so they like Miss Bell could like get out of there and like go back to her home.
Yeah, because I mean they were able to be outside, and they were able to have they seem like have a bit of autonomy, and she's put there by her niece. And the thing is that I feel like any niece wouldn't just leave Sugarfoot abandoned. That anybody who loved Mrs. Bell would make sure that Sugarfoot was cared for.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That was kind of weird. Like who like Sugarfoot like who like left shirt like who wouldn't take care of like him for Mrs. Bell because like a lot of people care for Mrs. Bell in this like in like the city. So I don't understand like why they like why they
Yeah,
people weren't taking care of him.
it made the whole thing seem very suspect, because if you loved Mrs. Bell, then you would have to love Sugarfoot. At
Yeah,
least care for it, make sure.
and Sugarfoot's
So
also a very pretty horse. So
yeah. And so things get kind of crazy when they when Sugarfoot eats the cake, and they the Mrs. Bell gets kicked out of the retirement home, but they're glad because they want to help take care of her.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then we also have the Soraya gets a message from Dylan in London, who she met over the summer, and he says, "I missed you. I can't stop thinking about you." So what do we think about this with Soraya?
Well, I'm glad that she's getting some story because I was listening to one of your podcasts like recently how like she's not really like getting like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
story. So I'm glad that they started to introduce that. But I feel like the whole like I miss you, I can't stop thinking about you is like a very common lines in long distance relationships. But I felt like it's good that she's getting, this story.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, because she just seems just to be somebody that is there for when they need a supporting character, as opposed to having her own real arcs, which is so. Hopefully, we'll get to see some more of this season. We also have Mallory feeling a little resentful of Shane, and that Jack is taking him fly fishing. She wants to be involved, and she's also like struggling with Austin, and at the end she ends up throwing a snow cone on his head. Just really good. Pretty good.
That was good. I think
Mm-hmm.
we do get more to like that story like in future episodes.
So we also find out that Ty's tuition was not paid by Mrs. Bell, but it was paid by his stepdad Wade.
Mhm.
So that we'll see more of that in the next episode. But yeah, overall, I'd say this is a pretty good episode of Heartland, and you get to see from almost all of the major characters. So I'd give this one an 8. I think it's a good episode. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'll give it an 8 too. It's focusing all the characters I think got some development, so I thought that was good.
Yeah. All right. So then we have this last episode of this episode is Cover Me. It's episode 9. And the summary of this episode is when Tim's young racehorse Cisco is stolen on the way to his maiden race, Amy and Ty get help tracking him down from an unlikely source, Ty's stepfather, Wade. Meanwhile, when Lou goes off to work, Peter is left to take care of baby Katie and ends up guarding a secret that could break Lou's heart. And Caleb finally convinces Kelly to go out with him, only to have a serious curveball thrown his way as he arrives for their date. So overall, what do you think of this episode?
Well, this is like the mid-season finale, technically. So I thought this was really well done. Like the whole like getting Cisco back, like whole storyline, like it went like a pretty like action packed like turn. I was loving it. I thought the subplots were pretty good too. So I think, for like being like, but some parts didn't necessarily feel like mid-season finale-ish, but it was overall a good episode.
Yeah, I think it was a good episode too. It starts out pretty strong with them finding these abused horses. And I'm still just amazed at how they're able to make these horses. 'Cause obviously, they can't actually have abused horses, but they do such a good job of making it believable. I'm sure with makeup or other things like it work. I don't know. What they do with the horses is just so incredible.
Yeah, that beginning scene I thought was really well done, and like, I almost like felt bad for the horses, even though I know what they weren't like getting like
Right.
used.
Yeah, it was really effective. And when Caleb shoots the horse, that was pretty shocking.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, but I feel like Amy has like a lot of like, like almost like grief, I guess, towards this like scene that we see like later on. So
yeah. Well, and I mean, of course, it's the right thing to do, but it was the way it was staged was kind of really surprising. And I didn't expect that to happen. So then Ty's trying to give the money back to Wade for the tuition, and they're just struggling. Wade is very abusive to his mom, and that's why he doesn't trust him, right?
yeah, I think we got that a few seasons back, like with Wade being in a few episodes, and we kind of saw that like he's like abusive. And we don't know like what it was like back in the day. I mean, we know that like there was like a lot of like tension between Ty and Wade, but yeah, I think the reason why is just because Ty just he doesn't think that Wade is a good partner to his mom, and he hasn't had like a father figure there. I mean, I think Jack is like his new father figure, but he just didn't have that. So I think that's why he's so resentful towards Wade.
Yeah. And I mean, there's side of me that just figures I would maybe just pretend I didn't even know, but he's just doesn't want to be held up or in debt to Wade in any way.
Which I think is fair. He doesn't want to feel like he owes anything to Wade.
Yeah. So then you have him getting the money from Scott. So for the tuition is how he deals with it. And that was interesting. And then Lou is really struggling with going to work. And I know that's a real thing when moms are, finish their maternity leave and they have to go back to work. There's a lot of mom guilt. That's definitely a thing.
Yeah, my mom, she had like a teacher position, so I remember that being hard for her.
Yeah, it's tough. But then Peter has become a stay-at-home dad. So that's new.
It's funny how the tables have turned.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I'm probably a bigger fan of him as stay-home dad versus the man of business, kind of a thing. He's cute.
Yeah.
And he gets very excited when Katie says "dada" as her first word. But he doesn't want to tell Lou because she'll feel bad about missing it.
Yeah.
So then we have some flirting between Caleb and Kelly. And she says, I'm not going to go out with a married cowboy. That's my rule. But I felt like Caleb was being a little bit stalkerish to Kelly. Like he's kind of like always there and like following her and stuff. I I think he just sees it as being persistent, but it was a little much.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just interested what Kelly sees in Caleb. I would want to know.
Yeah, I would want to know too. But she's starting to wear her down a little bit. It seems like, yeah. So then we have Cisco getting stolen, and Ty thinks that Wade stole the horses, but he didn't. He confronts the guy who did, and there's this whole thing of private days at the track. What do you think of that?
Interesting. I thought, them bringing in like this whole horse racing thing this episode was kind of surprising, but I think that I don't know if I would attend private days at the track or not.
Yeah, Amy ends up racing Cisco at the private days on the track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was so funny that like the whole point was for her not to win so they wouldn't get attention, but of course she ended up winning anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she can't resist it.
Yeah,
it's impossible. And we find out that Peter had been married before. Did we know that before?
I think we back in season 2, like Peter's like, because like him and like his wife, they share like custody of like his ex-wife, they share custody of like their dog Max.
Okay, so, I forgot that.
Yeah, but it has been a while since it's been mentioned, so.
Mm-hmm. And so then Wade comes and they get the horse, and they say being a grown-up does not include lying to me. So they have this battle of words between Ty and Wade, and then we find out that Wade is going to try to get back together with Ty's mom, which is why Ty was so resistant to his. And so then Caleb gets the date with Kelly, and then he gets a call from Ashley.
Ashley like is still like, we don't know like at this point, like we don't know like what Ashley's like doing and what Caleb like feels about Ashley, but like I'm glad it didn't go like whole love triangle route, but it's still kind of just like it puts Caleb in a tough situation.
Yeah, what did you think of Caleb and Ashley? Were you a fan of their relationship?
I felt like I wasn't a big fan of Ashley's character to begin with, so I couldn't really get on the side of their relationship, and plus their chemistry wasn't like that good to me, and it just, I don't know, I felt like they barely got any time to be happy with each other.
I agree. That was always my issue, that I felt like that it was hard to be invested, because also a lot of the big moments of their relationship we didn't get to see. So that was hard.
And plus like Val was like too involved in their
thing. So I mean, because they got married when we didn't even see that, or their courtship, and then I don't know, just a lot of other big kind of moments we didn't get to see. So it's an interesting thing. And then I guess she probably was doing some other movies or shows or something like that, so she was out this season. But yeah, so yeah, that's basically this episode, with it ending with Wade trying to get back with Ty's mom, and also just the dynamic of Lou feeling guilty and Peter actually seeming to be pretty happy being a stay-at-home dad, it seems like to me. But obviously like a little bit of jealousy, but not too much.
Yeah, I'm liking this season of Peter more than previous seasons, just because he's more around and we get to see him step into that father role, and I do like that.
And I think Lou thinks that he's jealous more than he actually is jealous.
Yeah,
he's worried about that. So Very good. What would you give this one?
I
Out of
give
10?
this one an 8.5 out of 10. I think it was the best one of the three. I felt them like getting Cisco back was really good, as well as like the Ty and Wade moments. So
Yeah.
8.5.
I agree. I think that's a good score. I would give it to you. So let us know if you're listening what you would give each of these episodes and what you think of them. We would love to hear your thoughts. And Micah, how can people find you and your channel and your content?
Well, I have a YouTube channel called Wimpy Studio. I do reviews of When Calls to the Heart on there. I do reviews of different movies that have come out recently. Hoping to review Arlo and the Alligator Boy. Thinking of watching that soon. So yeah, I think I do really enjoy my channel. I've also reviewed The Chosen season 2. So yeah, I have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, and you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check all that out. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate it. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group, which is a lot of fun. And we have our merch store, which has Heartland inspired merch. So check that out. And thanks. And we will be back next week with Michelle. And it should be great. And we'll talk to you all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.